Hi, everyone. Welcome to this session called Understanding Resilience for Maximizing Well-Being. My name is Christa Campsall. I'm chiming in from British Columbia, from the coast up here in Canada. And I've been a classroom teacher, K-12 for many years. Also been a learning integration support teacher for the special ed departments in schools, K-12. And most recently, I've really enjoyed developing a curriculum with a small Goodwill team. And like everyone, I'm really into remote learning and remote teaching, blended programs, and I've really enjoyed a creative project this summer, creating video on demand to supplement text materials. So lots of fun during these times that are so unusual and unprecedented, and keeping safe, of course. I'll just share my screen with you. So this presentation is for the Learning Revolution, and they are presenting the Emergency Home Learning Summit. Here's the title again. Our little agenda for today is some reflections from students who've learned about what we're talking about this morning. Student outcome video, 5 minutes. Some resilience perspectives that are very promising, a little bit about the 3 principles, our own insights, and then a summary. So we're on the same page. Well-being is a state of being comfortable, healthy and happy, and having overall satisfaction with life. World Health Organization describes mental health as a state of well-being. So it's always in the moment that we're able to experience our well-being, of course. So what we teach is about natural resilience, which points to well-being. And we teach about how we operate so we can maximize well-being. And in this way, we offer support to those who struggle. And this may be teachers, parents, or kids of all ages. So some summative reflections from primary kids who've learned about this. For example, a student with a special needs designation writes that I had a great day because I was feeling fine. When I'm calm and curious, I noticed I was fine. And this is remarkable for this young boy because he was really quite at odds with the world and was really acting out. And of course, his learning wasn't happening, and neither was anyone else in the classroom. But through learning about this natural resilience that's available and learning about how we operate from the inside out, this boy was able to actually notice that he is fine. Another primary student writes, the best thing I learned from my guidance side solved all my problems, and my problem was I worried too much. Summative reflections from the intermediate kids, sometimes we say middle school, a student with a special needs designation who was, again, struggling with learning and also struggling with just being with the classmates. He writes, I learned to listen to my little voice inside. Never fight. I ignore who peeps me off and walk away. I can control myself and make less distractions. Isn't that wonderful? For someone who is acting out and creating disturbances and distractions just to take away from his feeling of inadequacy, now is able to settle down and enjoy the learning journey with his classmates. Fantastic. And of course, this is we're human beings. So however we see the world, it ripples out to our whole world. And the parents, of course, also noticed a much more feeling of security that their son was experiencing. Another intermediate student writes, the most important thing I learned from my guidance side that has really helped me out is learning to face my fears. And of course, my guidance side that they're referring to, the synonym for that would be insight, intuition, wisdom. Okay. This wonderful group of secondary students took a course whereby they learned about the principles of how we operate on the inside, from the inside out. And they also learned how natural resilience is and how easy it is to tap into it. You just, as one student said, you know, everyone has it. It's just a case of recognizing it and tapping into it. So I will show that 5-minute video. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Since we started the study, I've noticed I've been more aware of my thoughts, and if they were indeed like needed thoughts, like if I was thinking a negative thought, I just think like, oh, I don't need that. This is just causing negative emotions.
I'm better able to empathize with people who I don't necessarily see eye to eye with, because youth parliament, you come up with a lot of people who you don't agree with on anything, but I'm better able to understand where they're coming from and why they hold certain viewpoints and why they do what they do.
I would have to say that also, you know, the single most important thing that I've gotten out of this is I feel like I'm just a lot less judgmental on people, and I feel more compassion. And the first thing I do now, if I meet someone or have a conversation with someone that I totally disagree with, I'll try to find a common point or a commonality that I do agree with. Whereas before, I think often I would just ignore them or just totally just block them out because I would just think that's totally wrong. So I've been a lot more understanding and compassionate.
The 3 principles is about learning how to focus on your thoughts and like choosing the thoughts you want to focus on. I sort of felt like I'm no longer as afraid to think about stressful things because I can approach it in a more unbiased way, I guess, rather than actively trying to not think about things. And
I think overall I've become very focused in a direction that has helped me mentally and as well physically. Just overall, I think my health has improved a lot and my mental wellness as well.
I'm more able to see through the eyes of other people and become, I guess the word is compassionate, and just be able to show compassion to others, because I think before this training I was very, when I go into conversations with people, I would go in, be only think about, not just my side, but very much my side. And I have very big struggles, seeing other people's, what they're talking about and I guess their perspectives. I think, that's definitely the biggest thing that has helped me, is just being able to see where other people are coming from in certain situations.
I think that mental wellness needs to be a more integral part of all school districts' policies, because if students are in a place where they themselves do not feel as if they are capable to learn and they don't have the emotional capacity to learn, the school is not going to be successful. And I think that's often a big part that is missing in our current society and how we have structured our education system, is we miss the most important piece of education, which is teaching one person about themselves, about their thought, and how to be in control of their emotions and how they have the ability to change. And this is what this guide enables youth to do. And I think if this was taught, I think we would be much more successful students and also happier and more fulfilled in our education, because we have the capacity to change, and that's critical.
I would have loved to learn this in grade 9.
Honestly, that was an absolutely incredible experience. Probably one of the highlights of me doing the peer counseling. This is the first time I'd actually practiced speaking about this to other students, specifically ones that had never heard of it before. And I was really practicing allowing my intuition to tell me what I should say and what would most reach these students. And that was the first time I'd really ever done that in conversation, where I wasn't premeditating, oh, I should say this and this and this. I was really just allowing it to come and flow through and being so present within the conversation, which are all skills that we learn within peer counseling, where you're not inside your own head thinking of your own answer, but you are using your inner wisdom essentially to respond to what other people are saying and to intake what they have to share to the conversation. And it was so amazing actually to witness the transformation within the students that we were talking to, because even as we were having the discussion and opening ourselves to them, they were opening up to us, and like they were so willing, so much more willing even than we would think they would be, to discuss personal issues and to discuss basically the 3 principles and to learn about how it can affect their own lives.
I think this is very important, and it isn't just a positive thing for the individual, but for the entire community. And I think everybody, from the youngest person to the oldest person, could benefit hugely from this.
There you have it. There's also the full focus group interview, which is a half an hour long. It was kind of fun. We had someone in Minnesota interviewing the students. She'd never met them. And then we had someone in London, UK, recording it all for us. And it was just fabulous that the kids were able to just take a little bit of their lunch break and come and do this interview and share what they'd learned. What I'd like to say about the outcomes that I saw as their teacher was that it was so wonderful to see how out of this growth of personal awareness and personal responsibility, we saw social responsibility become one of the natural outcomes of learning these principles. So back to screen share, PowerPoint. So for you watching, you could pause the recording here and reflect and discuss, if someone with you, or discuss online later. What did you notice about what the students realized, and why is this important? We use the promising resilience perspective that every person has the capacity for natural resilience, discovered or not. Natural resilience points to well-being. We have Sherry Red Owl, teacher and contributor for the Tribal College Journal of American Indian Higher Education. She states that it's important to know that every Indigenous language has a word for resilience. Dr. Ann Maston has written a book entitled Ordinary Magic, Resilience in Development. Dr. Ann states, resilience does not come from rare and special qualities, but from ordinary, everyday magic of ordinary, normative human resources in the minds of children. It's good news. Dr. Emmy Werner wrote, Journeys from Childhood to Midlife, Risk, Resilience, and Recovery. This is perhaps the largest likely indeed is the largest study on resilience. It spanned 4 decades. And it indicates that the journey to midlife for the cohorts was shaped by extraordinary resilience and their capacity to recover from and overcome problems. Kathy Marshall Emerson is my dear colleague, and she's the founding director of the National Resilience Resource Center for the US. And she gives us this state-of-the-art definition for resilience. Resilience is our natural innate capacity to navigate life successfully. The opportunity to learn how we operate makes a critical difference to whether one realizes resilience or not. And natural capacity of resilience, as I was saying earlier, it can also be described and referred to as a guide inside, insight, intuition, wisdom. Now, at the National Resilience Resource Center, they really focus on seeing human beings at promise rather than at risk. And at promise means human beings are filled with capacity, realized or unrealized, for healthy transformation and change. Now, it's interesting, some months ago we came across an article from California, how the California changes the wording from at risk to at promise youth to help disadvantaged students. And a student who was interviewed for this news article states that his name's Alejandro, and he states that he was in high school the first time he was referred to it as at risk. I just felt like, damn, am I really at risk? That's the path I'm headed towards. It felt like there was no empowerment in it. So we were actually really delighted to see that the wording is in California policies for youth has changed from at risk to at promise. So at this point, again, you could pause and reflect and or discuss, what are the effects of seeing kids at promise? The experts tell us that it's really up to us to believe it in order to see it. Human potential, though not always apparent, is always there, waiting to be discovered and invited forth. And here's seeing the potential and positive capacity of each child is essential. That's Dr. Emmy Werner again. For staff to create the nurturing environment that taps innate resilience, its members must believe in youth's capacity for transformation and change. It's really for us to believe it, and then we will see it in those children and youth that we serve. In fact, Dr. John Hattie, who with his team analyzed so many education studies that represented 250 million students, he states that number one for student to see themselves as learners is that I, as their teacher, see them as a learner. Second most important is that the team of teachers I work with in the building also see the student as a learner. And thirdly, that the student sees him or herself as a learner. So it really shows, the research really shows that how we trusted adults see a youth or a child is so crucial for that ability for the child to be able to draw out their own natural wisdom. Here's another opportunity to reflect and discuss. What has occurred in our lives to bring out our strengths and capacities? What connections to resilience can you make in your own life? At the National Resilience Resource Center, they've been pleased to discover that children and adults can be taught to tap their natural resilience. The center's work incorporates the 3 principles as a means for teaching adults to tap resilience and promote positive and healthy behaviors in children. So, very important. We can teach a few key things and really help children and youth despite their circumstances currently, despite their history of circumstances. They can begin to see themselves with human dignity and see themselves as whole. Now, the principles that we're talking about offer explanations of the universally protective mechanism for tapping natural resilience. Now, it's important to note the principles are simply a description of how we all operate from the inside out. There's a 3 principles equation: mind plus consciousness plus thought equals reality. So it's a description. It's not a prescription of what to do or when to do it. It's a description of how it operates universally for each person. So if we look at the equation below, we'll start at the end. Reality is how life looks to the thinker, how it looks. And how it looks in the moment to the thinker is a combination of mind plus consciousness plus thought. Mind being universal intelligence, consciousness being awareness, and then thought. I specifically put that in italics because thought is where we actually have, that's the variable. That's where we have choice. Mind, it just is. We don't need to worry, concern ourselves with that. Same with consciousness. We are conscious. Thought is where we get to play the game of life. It's a power that creates our ideas, puts power into our ideas. And the thing is, the content for each of us is absolutely unique, the content of thought. But the process of thought in the moment, shaping how we see our world, is the same for each of us. It's interesting to note the scientists believe we have 60,000 thoughts a day. Clearly, we do discern which thoughts to pay attention to. So just being more aware, being more conscious of the fact that we can actually choose in the moment to attend to a thought, if it's one that's helpful, or if it's a thought that's causing us to feel anxiety or worry, we can actually let that thought pass by. It's always our choice which thoughts we're attending to. And the beautiful thing of this is once you start being more aware and noticing what your thoughts are in the moment, you can be more discerning. And when you're more discerning and let those thoughts that are worrisome or cause anxiety, when you let them pass by and then you're in the present moment again, guess what? That leaves so much more space for thoughts that come from insight, that are new and that are helpful. With the children sometimes, let's see if I have it here, we use the metaphor of a snow globe. And when we shake the snow globe, we can't really see the scene because the snow is there. But when we let the snow globe settle, the snow settles, and then we can see the scene clearly. That analogy is so true for us with our thoughts. When our thoughts are stirred up and rapid fire, it's difficult to see clearly. What do? We just notice that. There's nothing really to do except notice. And then our thoughts will naturally settle, and then we can see our world with more clarity. We can navigate your world with healthy thoughts from moment to moment. It's in the moment where we have the power. We can't go back in the past and have a redo, and we can't go into the future and exactly analyze and predict how we will feel or what will happen. It's in the moment where we have that personal empowerment. And it's good now to, again, might be wise to pause the recording and reflect what impact this has on our day-to-day life. And here's a bigger open-ended question. What am I already sharing to help the young person learn to tap their natural resilience and capacity for well-being, for optimal outcomes and positive behaviors? At this point, perhaps it's good to really clarify capacity. Capacity is not only the ability, but it's also the power. So our natural capacity, it's our natural ability, our natural power to tap into resilience and navigate life successfully. So really what we're saying is it's our own natural insights in the moment that are our very best resource. Insights that come from a calm mind, that come from our intuition, are really the very custom best thoughts we could possibly have. Einstein has an awesome quote. Let's see, it's something like, I think and analyze for 99 times and nothing. And then I let go and I swim in the silence and the truth becomes apparent. Where the big thing is, yes, of course, we have our intellect and our stored memory and all the wonderful analyses and so on that the intellect can perform to help us navigate life. What we're saying is we also have wisdom and intuition that can afford us new thought and can be synchronized with the intellect so that we can navigate life successfully. There are other supportive learning resources, lots of them there at myguideinside.com. The happiness you're looking for is inside you. It really is. That's where mental health lies. So, to recap, the title is Understanding Resilience for Maximizing Well-Being, and key points. Resilience is a capacity that every person has, discovered or not. It's the natural innate capacity to navigate life successfully. It's realized when we learn how we operate. It's ordinary magic and well-being. Resilience points to well-being. And well-being is an understanding of the principles naturally maximizes well-being. And as a learning integration support teacher in the special ed department, I'm here to say this simple knowledge that's so powerful and has such a dramatic effect on how we navigate our life day to day, moment to moment, is really accessible for all of us. So I do recommend that you reflect on what new possibilities for growth are you seeing based on what I've presented today. And then just consider, what are your takeaways to share with children and youth that you work with? So thanks for joining in today. If you want to get in touch, it's myguideinside.com. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.